Skiros connection.
Well, thank you everybody for coming in from wherever you are, Ithaca or beyond. Welcome to tonight's launch of Katharyn Howd Machan's newest collection of poems, Slow Bottle of Wine. Really glad you're here. I'm Eleanor Henderson. I'm on the board of Buffalo Street Books, and I'll be your host tonight. I'm giving General Manager Lisa Swayze a well-deserved night off. She's been busy getting the store reopened. If anybody's been in the store this week, you know that almost back to normal. You can actually go into the store and buy books, including Katharyn's new book, which is on the shelves there. So she's also getting ready, Lisa's also getting ready for tomorrow night's owners meeting, which is at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, in case any of you are owners. If you're not an owner and you want to own a bookstore, you can visit our website for more information about that. You can also, as I said, buy books online still and in the store. All of our inventory is online. Katharyn's book isn't quite online, but you can buy it in the store. Got my copy here, signed by Katharyn. And let's see, what else do I want to tell you about the bookstore? I think that's it. We're going to be doing our these online events for quite a while, for the foreseeable future, even though we have the ability to shop in the store. This is the way we're doing events for the time being, and we're really glad that you found us. So I feel very fortunate to be able to be here to celebrate Katharyn's latest book. She's going to read to us a selection of her poems, and then she'll answer some questions from us. Katharyn probably doesn't need an introduction for many of you, but in case you already don't know her work, I'll tell you that she's an author of 39 collections of poetry. She's lived in Ithaca, New York since 1975, and now as a full professor, she's taught writing at Ithaca College since 1977. After many years of coordinating the Ithaca Community Poets and directing the National Feminist Women's Writing Workshops, she was selected to be Tompkins County's first poet laureate. Her poems have appeared in numerous magazines, anthologies, and textbooks, and she's edited 3 thematic anthologies, most recently with Split Oak Press, a tribute collection celebrating the inspiration of Adrienne Rich. With her beloved spouse, fellow poet and colleague Eric Mahan Howd, she shares a home with 2 affectionate cats and celebrates the creative lives of daughter Cora Rose and son Benjamin. So this book, A Slow Bottle of Wine, is the winner of the 2019 Jessie Bryce Niles Competition, and it was published by Comstock Writers back in February, just before the pandemic hit. So this is the official launch of that book, although it's been in the world for a little while. This is a collection that spans more than 20 years and chronicles her beloved daughter's life and survival from heroin addiction. It's also about violence and hope and about what it means to be a parent. I read the book today and was, as usual, so moved and impressed by Katharyn's words and the richness of her images and the way she's been able to make art from pain. One of the blurbs on the back here from Kathy Morris uses the phrase glitter and grit, which I think is a perfect way to describe Katharyn and her writing. As her colleague at Ithaca College, I can confirm she leaves a trail of glitter wherever she goes. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Katharyn Howd Machan.
Eleanor, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Yes, as Eleanor said, the poems in this book do chronicle 20 years. I'm very, very glad to say that those are not the most recent 20 years. That indeed, the person who is on the cover of the book, oops, there we go, I can see your face, yes, Among the Grapes. My beloved daughter Cora Rose is actually one of the people who is experiencing being an audience member.
Here up there for some reason, I don't know why.
Hey, Edward, I can hear your voice. All right, anyway, okay. So I'm going to read a selection that, what can I say? The book tends to be quite dark. The opening part is full of light, full of what happens. When love happens, it's unexpected. a slow bottle of wine. He taught me how to drink a slow bottle of wine, how to make it last a whole purple afternoon, the fullness lingering, bright and mellow on the tongue. France in August is a field of lavender gone crazy blue, in need of harvest, but not ready for the sharpened blade to cut the source of blossom. Oh, how the music calls. Bamboo forest makes a cool, tall place where stories happen in the garden of the lotus. A green pool awaits wishes from new lips that promise love. Love. Midnight in Monoblay, sound of paper streamers tearing C'est la fête, c'est la fête. All of summer, seeming one long walk to a parked car, black laughing eyes demanding. Golden ring, legal promise of forever, tossed into a fountain of hard dream. Marriage fades to fog in this new landscape of long sun, white rocks along cool riverbank, all the boundaries a heart wants. Goats clanking copper bells, the Monday market with bright earrings in the shape of ripened grapes, pale castle gleaming on the mountain in our view from shuttered windows. How to know what moments will determine who we are. I had his baby. And the months of not forgetting southern sun, adultery a promise far beyond mind's comprehension. Oh, the fountain with the face of Pan pretending all is now and ever can be frantic dance. A slow bottle of wine, I tell you, seems the life and is the life in love, where a woman wanders full of wanting, free of time, all her years, the taste of summer rising with his name. So that was the summer of 1987. At this point, almost half my life ago. Certainly, so that nobody gets the wrong idea, certainly years before I was connected with my wonderful spouse, Eric. In August, when he took me walking in the bamboo garden, he hid his fists deep down in his pockets, didn't touch me at all as we found quiet paths and the pool where pink lilies opened. He watched my face as I worked to speak the language he could understand, my tongue too American to pronounce the words Provençal ears could hear. Small birds whose names I longed to utter flew high from green to shadowed gold, and I could feel the reach of his need make small the space between us. If Aitana Teller had warned me what December would bring, impossible, I'd have returned with a laugh, counting the water's blossoms again, their stories as long and strong to the depths where dark roots fed brightest color. So in some ways, the collection of poems kind of is, it's a narrative. People will often ask poets, what kind of poetry do you write? Story poems. So that glorious summer of 1987 made me almost give up my citizenship. I returned to France in December of 1987. And of course, when I say I, Sharon Olds always says, never assume that the I in the poem is the poet. In this case, it is. Let's see. So those poems, the early poems, were set in a wonderful village in Provence. And then the December time is in Marseille, where this man named Denis, who is no longer with us, he did die several years ago. That's where he lived, and that's where I went. And I said, I'm going to find out what it's like before I give up my citizenship, before I give up my job at Ithaca College. Let me go see, is this going to work? Am I going to be able to really move to France? French coffee. He brewed it thick and dark in that 2-chair rented kitchen where a single rose in a cracked clay pot bloomed pink outside the twice-locked door. January in Marseille keeps blue shutters firmly closed, and steady stench of bitter cigarettes can find nowhere to escape. I thought he'd be the same sane man I'd met and kissed in August sun. Ripened hard red blackberries I thought would be safe with him. Beer and beer and beer through midnight, rage and hate and grief, tightening his trembling hands, stained brown with years of nicotine. He tore to shreds my notebook of poems. He slapped me hard for being nothing, worthless woman in his anguished eyes. I pretended I agreed. I kept my passport safely hid. And when he went to buy more smokes, I forced the window free and fled. It was only when I returned to the United States that I discovered little Cora Rose was there inside, waiting to have her own stories start happening. On the eve of Hallows Eve, my daughter sleeps in her own room. Breath of my breath, cry the moon might seem to make this late October evening. Tomorrow, we will wear bold masks and costumes, shake bright sticks to all the demons, leering cold gray faces at our golden trees. So young, she stirs in broken dream. Will I lie here alert to hear her call if she should need me? The wind outside my thin-walled room makes moan as though to mock me. Persephone, Persephone, Persephone. As if any woman could forget this time of parting. Leaf from branch, all blossom from earth's roots, even sunlight from day's weakened stretch. And the sad-eyed girl gone walking lonely, away to the cold shadow place where breath is dust and moonlight fails, and a mother's voice can never reach to soothe and gently wake her. And another Halloween poem. My daughter, 10, dresses as an alien. This Halloween, she doesn't want to see herself in princess pink and gold, in emerald lady gleam of Oz, even last year's sparkled onyx satin woman who came from the night storm sky. No, nothing pretty this time. she says. And so we search for weeks for just the right mask, a dream of bulging opalescence, huge eyes that make the planet small, the world a frail glass marble. Black pants, black silver jacket, sleek black shoes, set to step through space, and from her neck, a braided ribbon of light, holding a single perfect circle she'll use to draw others to her power. Dusk comes. The pumpkins we've cut into demons and cats, glowing against time's grin. Before candy, before the doors that will open and close, I photograph her where she stands, not pretty. This daughter, my creature, her strange new face, turned upward towards the reachable moon. Now we get into the truly dark. It's kind of hard to smile, but if I don't smile, I might start kind of crying. So, yeah. Very raw to read aloud something so true. Yes, there's a layer of distance. We certainly at Ithaca College teach our students about personal essay. Yeah, it's about you, but it's also, you've got the distance in there. But knowing that in this case, the poems coming now, writing these poems, are what allowed me to survive what happened to my daughter. That clench of heroin that almost took her breath completely 3 times. Magic. If I hum her name 100 times, can I take my daughter back to when she touched starfish in a pool and said, "I love it here, Mama"? If I write the date of the day she was born, backwards and forwards in a salty wave, can I keep her talking to me, saying how she still wants to hold my hand? If I hide my grief in a little song and whisper its hard words low and deep into a bottle tossed into the sea, can I bewitch, bewilder, banish heroine's history? Fairy tales are certainly central to what I teach and what I write, and they certainly weave in and were a profound way to help me day after day, sometimes not even knowing where my daughter was. Into her jewel-studded, owl-shaped purse. My daughter stuffs mascara, liner, lipstick, pale as the curve of the waning moon, and a plastic bag light with fairy wings, only crass people call cocaine. Time is a silver staircase before her, where tiny foxes in buttoned coats hold out black paws to help her climb to where her prince is smiling. "Dance," he commands, and stars start playing, instruments torn from musicians' hands, ragged polka, fractured waltz, his eyes smoky crystals. Touch and turn and twist and twirl and try to feel freedom and flight. But his hard mouth weighs down her grace, reminding her she cannot dare to cry. She trips on her torn gossamer hem, the one she thought I'd stitched up tight, but which I'd only fastened with pins, knowing where she was going tonight. At this point, I just have to say again, the admiration I have for my daughter. She can listen to these poems because her survival is so full of health. This is the summer of 209. 209. It was on that August 30th that Cora Rose told me of her addiction. She'd managed to hide it from us very, very well. But when she turned 21, we could do nothing. Fortunately, laws in New York State have changed now somewhat. But at that time, a parent could do nothing. Night story. She thinks about swans, the woman reading, and a tall girl with tangled hair, touching the fur of a silent bear who will become a prince. Needing a cup of tea, she rises, moves to put the kettle on for steeping, good hot black, to prevent her sleeping before the clock strikes 12. Hooves of a golden horse keep pace across her heartbeat as she stirs in milk, remembering a gown of silk she wore one summer day. My loss is nothing, she repeats, and then she pours away the extra water, waiting for her only daughter, who, hungry, might come home again. How not to write a poem. Allow a loved one's illness to get in the way of your pen or keyboard or stick in the sand, or even the voice that calls in your dreams, bellowing villanelles. Say it's your daughter. Say she's 22 and addicted to dope, so you can't do a God-blessed thing because she's a legal adult. Go to Al-Anon, live the 12 steps, whittle your guilt to a small, tight splinter and flick it into hot flames. The places where you keep your stanzas will disappear into dust. Vaguely, you'll remember needing enjambment, metaphors, rhyme, but they're all forgotten now. You just don't have the time. And before I read the last poem this evening, I just want to say that as hard as it is for me to give this reading, as hard as it was really to write the poems, I see it so strongly as a political act, because I'm one of the lucky ones. My daughter is alive. My daughter is doing beautifully. It's a self-portrait on the cover of the book. She has a daughter who's 8.5 who just wrote me a letter saying how much she likes to make slime now. Final poem for this evening, and then if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them. Wise woman's friend reveals why she has to keep on dancing. I had a daughter once. Surely I had a daughter. But she disappeared into a horizon my fingers could not reach. Maybe it was with a man who rode a wild-eyed horse, sweating black flanks between her thighs and her smile a crimson slash. Maybe it was towards a city with lights higher than any hearth can offer a sane, safe world. I still have a photograph. Her perfect smooth blue hat, her hands around small roses. Was that a person who swelled my body, pushed hard into light as I screamed? I dream now of brass unicorns, her stroking and grasping their polished full horns. A country, France, calling out her name, the name. Did I give it? She scorns as obscene. The world unsane, unsafe, untouched by an aging woman, unable to be the mother a wild girl needs. But I'll, close that by saying that Cora Rose has assured me over and over that I am the mother she needs. Any questions? Eleanor will.
Katharyn, that was such a beautiful reading, and in some ways a kind of complete tour through this book, although there are so many other beautiful poems as well. So we'd love to open up the floor to questions for Katharyn. You are welcome to raise your real hand or raise your virtual hand if you know how to do that, or just to type a question in the chat box if you prefer, and I can relay a question to Katharyn. Any questions for Katharyn? I think I have a question that I could start with while I give others a chance to think. And maybe you answered this a little bit, Katharyn, but I'm curious about when you wrote these poems. You mentioned that you have some distance from these experiences that you're writing about now, but also that maybe they helped you to survive the experiences themselves. So did you write some of these poems while you were going through those years?
Oh, yes, most of the ones were during that time. As I said, it's old work now. Yes, I have an even longer piece that's completely separate, in which I reworked the 12 Dancing Princesses. That's what kept me completely sane. The imagining that these princesses would go down in and they would meet their dealers and dance the night away on heroin and then come back with the ruined shoes. But writing these poems is what helped to keep me sane. Absolutely. Because my loss was so profound. And that's why I just hope that other people, I wish that it didn't exist anymore, but we know that, especially with the pandemic, overdoses are on the rise now, right? Depression. If people who are addicted themselves maybe can't do it, maybe, but the loved ones around them, to write about it in some way. It doesn't even have to be poetry. To write about it. What is it you're needing? What is it you feel like you're losing? Yes, it did. It kept me sane.
Thanks, Katharyn. Dee Dee, you have a question? Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask Dee Dee Quigley.
Okay, that is. Katharyn, thank you so much it takes so much courage, I think, in my mind, it takes so much courage not only to write what you did, but then also to read it and share it. It's very beautiful. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad to see you here, Dee Dee.
I know, it's so wonderful to be in Ithaca. I love it.
Dee Dee lives in Key West, but spent a long time in Ithaca going to the Finger Lakes School of Massage with her family.
Very true.
She's the sister of Nancy Forrester, where I used to run a writing workshop that Barbara Crooker helped me teach once. So I feel like these tarot cards, I'm shuffling them here. Thank you, Dee Dee. I'm so glad you were here.
Katharyn, I'll tell you, I don't have a question for you per se, but the work is lovely. And I don't know that these are necessarily poems that it's appropriate to generate applause, but you are to be celebrated, and your book is to be celebrated. And I really can't wait to get my mitts on it.
Well, you're so kind, Michael. Now, that's Michael Callahan, who's one of my students back in the 70s. And has
If you
two
started
novels,
teaching-
two novels
If you
out now.
started teaching in 1977, I could have been in your first class.
I think you might have been in, well, second one maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, you marked me
Touch
because
all
I
these
was
years.
late.
And Michael does have two novels. I'll just say that again.
You marked me late for class,
Probably.
my first time.
Probably.
The humorous writing. Don't think I've forgotten. Clearly I haven't.
Any other questions for Katharyn?
I don't really have a question either, but I will say that it feels personal hearing these because I was your student during this time. And during spring of 2009, winter of 2009, spring of 2010, when you were first grappling with a lot of this. So it is very powerful hearing this book, and I'm so beautiful.
Sarah. Yeah, Sarah's someone who came down and took the workshop in Key West.
Yeah, I loved it.
I don't have a question either, but I just want to tell you, Katharyn, when I go back and reread these poems in the book, I will hear your voice, and that will make them even better because I'll hear your voice as you read them, so I'll know exactly how you meant them. You know, your voice really conveyed that. And if it were a normal year, I would have been in Ithaca this week for that poetry class at the Cornell Alumni University. Yep. And I would have seen you in person tonight if you had had it. But anyway, I'm glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to rereading all the poems now that I've heard them from you.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here, Jerry. Thank you. And that, yeah, the actual voicing of poems, it's the core of my life. So yeah, I'm glad.
Can you hear me? Can I? Okay.
There, now, oh, go ahead.
I'm Cora Rose. My brother Benjamin and I would always roll our eyes because everyone knew all about our entire life, you know, entire life. Everyone walking on the street knew me through poetry. And right after I first got over this, when I started reading your poetry, it horrified me, it sickened me, made me cry. I hated it, but you know, it's life, and I'm okay with it. This is your reality as well, which I did not understand at the time, you know.
Love you, darling.
Excellent book, Mom. I'll mute myself.
The cover's great.
Why don't you explain why the cover is my eye?
Why don't you?
Okay. When I was born, I don't know if most of you don't have an actual copy, but I have what do you call it, Mom? It's just a stripe of brown, but my mother always called it the fleck of France. It's a piece of France that was caught in my eye when she left. So I had taken this photo of myself. It's a selfie, and I sent it to her because I zoomed in on my eye. It was very pronounced and very striking, the brown stripe. And next I know, it's on a book.
I asked your permission.
Like a friend. You did. Yes, you did. So it's very fitting. It's the fleck of France on the book. Yes. This is a great turnout. This is really nice. Hi, Kathy.
I see Kathy Morris.
She photographed me throughout my entire life.
Kathy Morris saw Cora Rose before I did.
Before
She was
anyone.
there as birth coach and photographer. So feeling very, very solipsistic. I indeed hope that anybody who's here is actually people who already know us, or this feels like some sort of horrible narcissism going on here, you know? Hate for a stranger to be thinking, what the hell is going on? I should speak over speak tape. What the heck is going on?
A glimpse into a little chapter of our lives. The darker ones.
Hey, Katharyn and Cora Rose, this is Diane Sudol.
Oh, I can't see you.
Oh, Diane.
And I can't really, I loved your work. And Cora Rose, I've been thinking about you forever.
I see you. I want to see you, but do you have the camera on?
No, I'm not good at that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I'm on the phone.
Hi.
You're lucky I was able to do it with the telephone.
That's Diane Sudol from Portland. Used to be the assistant at feminist women's writing workshops.
Wow.
Yeah, and Cora, I'm just really been wondering and hoping that Cora Rose was doing great, and I'm so happy to hear it. And I'm so happy to hear Katharyn.
I am. I'm healthy and
well,
happy.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for caring.
Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I think about you guys all the time.
Thank you.
Cora Rose, this is Dee Dee in Key West. If you can hear me, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I wish I was with you right now. Oh my.
I just wanted to say, though, I was so sorry to miss you this last time you were here. You know,
Well, it was crazy. With the pandemic hit right when we were there. It was honestly a horrifying experience.
Yeah, I just missed you. Also want to say, you know, where you are right now is very magical. There are all these little bright lights that are going on. And
Yeah.
it's really just the trees.
I left my Christmas lights up. I thought that
It's very beautiful.
They're not just Christmas. I got that from my mom. She used to have stars all around the porch for like 5 years maybe, after Christmas one year. Yeah.
Anyway, next time you come down, I can't wait to see you, to be with you.
I can't wait. 2021, Mom, right? Whenever her spring break is.
The college has no spring break this coming year, so.
It's all strange now.
We don't know. We just don't know.
As soon as we're allowed.
Yeah.
I can't wait. That's something to daydream about. Long Island during a pandemic right now. I can't wait. Mom, the grapes are great. Daddy did a great job. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, my many thanks. I wouldn't be able to be doing this reading without Eric. Eric is the one who's made this happen completely. He's teaching me to be comfortable using this new way of connecting to people. So
get used to it.
Yeah.
We're teaching a course on fairy tales to incoming first-year students of Ithaca College. We've got 21 students. They're loving it. They're loving the fairy tales.
It's a great way to spend a summer.
Any other questions for Katharyn? Or Katharyn, would you like to share anything else with us?
Just to thank everyone who made the time to come in and, you know, beyond the work that I have done, just the idea of getting out the encouragement to people to write their lives, especially through the hard times. Write your lives through the hard times.
I'm so glad you were a writer, Mom, for what I put you through. I thank God for poetry.
Thank God for poetry. That's a great note to end on. Thanks all for coming and celebrating with Katharyn. This was really lovely and an intimate event. Thank you, Katharyn, for sharing your poems with us. Thank you.
Eleanor.
We can unmute and give some applause or some virtual applause.
Love you, Mom.
Thank you, everybody.
Good job, Katharyn.
Call you in 5 minutes.
Good night.
Nice to see you.
Goodbye, everyone. It was nice seeing everyone.